He's saying he have the word an, and the word an can be dhahira. What does dhahir mean? What does dhahiratun mean? Apparent, you can see it clear. And along with that you have the word muqaddara. What does muqaddara mean? Understood, hidden, not mentioned explicitly. So the word an, when it's masdariya, not mukhaffafa, when an is masdariya. So an al-masdariya. An al-masdariya. Yes? It can do amal, it can govern when it's there. When it's there in text, it will always govern, that's obvious. But it can also govern when it's muqaddara, hidden. You can't see the an, but the Arabs have assumed, or the grammarians have seen the language, and they said there must be an an hidden here. Do you understand? Are you following? Now, the way the an is hidden, some places is jawazan. What does jaiz mean? Jaiz, permissible. So some places it is permissible to remove the an, and some places it is wujuban, it is wajib to remove the an. You can never have an. So some places you got a choice. You can remove the an, you can bring the an. It's up to you and stylistic choice. And in some places you have to remove the an. The an is muqaddara, hidden, compulsorily. Meaning it's compulsory to remove the an. Or sometimes it's permissible to remove the an. Do you understand? Does that make sense? Yes? You following? Does everybody understand? Yes? Okay. Now, where is it mudmaran? So it says mudmaratan. So an, so if you go back previously, where's the atfan? Hidden. Mudmara, like zamir, is hidden. So he says here, وَبِأَنْ الْمَصْدَرِيَّةِ ظَاهِرَةً. So it becomes the fa'il mudari, becomes mansoob when the an masdariya is apparent, like these cases, and it also does amal. وَمُضْمَرَةً جَوَازًا. And it also does amal, i.e. the an also makes the fa'il mudari after it mansoob when it is concealed, i.e. is hidden. And in two ways it can be hidden: jawazan, and he give you a list of jawazan, and wujuban, he'll give you a list of wujuban. Do you understand? First mudmaratan jawazan, then mudmaratan wujuban. So first he's giving mudmaratan jawazan. Okay? Everybody following? Understood? Ji. Because it's jaiz. If I say it's a jaiz, do you have to, is kebab jaiz or haram or farad?
On the day of resurrection.
To eat kebab, is it farad, is it wajib, or is it jaiz? It's jaiz. So do you have to eat it, or do you got a choice to eat it? Unless your mom says you have to eat it, you got no choice. But generally speaking, it's jaiz, yes? So jaiz means you have a choice to remove it or leave it. So jawazan ba'da atifin masbuqin bismin khalis. It's very simple, let's have to explain it properly. Noun. What does ism mean? Noun. There are two types of noun. One is the one we always use, like ismun khalis. What does ismun khalis mean? One word which gives the meaning of an ism. Like sujood, it's a masdar, prostration. Sajda. Is that a noun? Yes? Dhahab, to go. Shajaratun, to go. Tree. Yes? And one type of noun is called ismun mu'awwalun. What's it called? Ismun mu'awwal. Meaning, the word is not actually a noun, but we interpret it and we understand it and we treat it as though it's a noun because it takes the slot of a noun in a sentence. So mu'awwal, ta'wil, interpreted, understood, treated as a noun. So it is not actually a noun, it is actually a harf masdar and a verb after it. So for example, an tashjuda. Now what will happen? An tashjuda, is that a complete sentence? No. If I say tashjudu by itself, what's that? Fa'il, complete, full stop. You prostrate. But if I say an tashjuda, this is an masdariya, yes? And this whole thing is ismun mu'awwal. What does that mean? That this has to fit somewhere in a bigger sentence. Either as a mubtada, either as a khabar, either as a fa'il, as a maf'ul bihi, etc. So ismun mu'awwal is when a verb is preceded by a harf masdar. And there are many other harf masdar, but we've done two so far, kay and an. So then we say that this is this. So the word itself, fa'il, fa'il. But when an comes and is masdariya, it gives the whole thing, the whole harf masdar and the verb after it collectively. They become ismun mu'awwal. What do they become? Ismun?
But then the question is,
Ismun mu'awwal. So you have ismun khalis is our dictionary nouns. And ismun mu'awwal is our nahwi nouns. When you add an or kay before it, then an and kay plus the verb, fa'il, fa'il and the sentence after it is interpreted as one noun and they become the slot, one noun slot. That's what we call ismun mu'awwal. Correct? Yes? Do you understand so far? So what he's saying here now, so an does amal when it's apparent, and it can be apparent jawazan, meaning you can bring it, you can remove it, both places. So here is mudmaran, not apparent, it's hidden. So you can have a hidden, so when an will do amal when it is hidden, but it's not necessary to hide it, you can bring it if you want. When is this? After a atif mean a harfu atf. And masbuqin means sabaqa. Masbuqin means what? Preceding. So after a harful atf, man'ud, what kind of harful atf? Which is preceded. What is it preceded by? Ismin khalisin, a pure harful atf. Sorry, a pure noun. A ismun khalis. So if you have what? Example of this, lubsu aba. Let's explain it. So we have here lubsu aba'atin. What's lubsu aba'atin? So lubsu aba'atin is a noun. Waw is atif. What is waw? Atifin. Yes. Then, so lubsu aba'atin, to wear. To wear. So here means here. So aba'a is to wear woolen cloak, like very thick garments, not like good quality, like very thick one. Okay, so to wear a thick woolen cloak, وَتَقَرَّ عَيْنِي, once my eyes are cool, meaning I'm happy, because coolness of the eyes is as a sign of happiness. So what do we have here? What kind of word is Abdurrahman? What's this? Waw is what? Harfu atf. Is it masbuq bi ismin khalis? What does masbuq mean? Preceded. Is it preceded by ismun khalis? Meaning a pure noun, not an ismun mu'awwal. After that, what do we have? A fa'lun mudari. What is it permissible for us to say? We put an muqaddara, an mudmara. An is hidden here. That's why you have وَتَقَرَّ عَيْنِي. So why is this fa'al mudari mansoob? Because an is mahdhoof here. So wearing woolen cloak, once I'm happy. Ahabba ilayya min lubsi shufu. That's the second part. What happened basically is, one lady, she married Muawiyah radiyallahu anha, and he was very, very rich. Very rich meaning rich, and he had a well-off, and she was like a very simple woman, villager. She lived like a simple life. So she said this, I'd rather wear simple clothes and be poor whilst I'm happy than living in a big palace and wearing thin, fine, delicate garments whilst I'm not happy. I'm stuck in this palace. I don't like palace. I want to be a simple life in my village. So she said this, وَلُبْسُ أَبَاءَةٍ وَتَقَرَّ عَيْنِي. So ma'tuf alayhi ma'tuf becomes the mubtada. This whole thing becomes the mubtada. This is i.e. wearing all woolen cloaks whilst I am happy, i.e. whilst my eyes are cool, and the coolness of the eyes means happiness. Whilst I am happy is more beloved to me, ahabba ilayya is more beloved to me than wearing what? Thin, fine, delicate garments, expensive garments. So that's a poem, but the ruling is what? If you have a harful at, an example of this is what comes in the Quran. وَمَا كَانَ لِبَشَرٍ أَن يُكَلِّمَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَّا وَحْيًا أَوْ مِنْ وَرَاءِ حِجَابٍ أَوْ يُرْسِلَ رَسُولًا. So it is not befitting for a human being that Allah speak to him, except, not directly, but what? Wahyan, via revelation, or from behind a veil. أَوْ يُرْسِلَ رَسُولًا, or Allah sends a Messenger. Now what's happening here? What's the atfun masbuqin bismin khalis? Who can apply it here? No, but here, this an is what? Mudmara or zahira? This is an zahira. So yes, this an makes this word mansub.
وراء حجاب.
Yeah, so what's happening here in wara'i hijab?
وراء حجاب is اسم خالصا. After it, the an is masbuq because it's out.
Yeah, so what we have here, let's go again. We say here, we have here, this is harfu at, ma'tuf alay, all of these are, so it's not only one, but it's multiple. We have here, harfu at, always what? Harfu at. Here's also what? Harfu at. Yes? And this is masbuq. This yursila is what? Masbuq, meaning preceded. Why is it preceded by? What comes before that? Wahyan. What's wahyan? Ismun? Ismun khalisun. So because this, you have a harfu adf, aw, preceded by an ismun khalis, what happens now? What do we do here? Wa mudmaratan jawazan. An can be made what? Hidden. So you say here, this becomes what here now? An is hidden. That's why it becomes yursila. Do you understand? You following? You got it? Yes? Any questions regarding that? Okay. Now here in Hisham, he's made his text again to make it very brief and very short, but he's got it a bit complicated. It's like not very clear. So let me summarize to you. So we said, first of all, the very basics that we done from baby language is what? The four nasiba. Since you were born, you were saying what? An lan kay idhan. Yes? An lan kayan idhan. Those are the four nasib. Yes? But regarding an, there's a few more details. An can come in two forms. One is an al-mudmara, or one is an al-zahira. What does mudmara mean? Mudmara? No, mudmar. What does zahira mean? An-zahira. So mudmara means hidden, and an al-zahira means an is apparent. So an can either be there in the text, it is zahira, or it can be mudmara, meaning what? Hidden. You can't see in the text. So an masdariya comes in how many forms? An masdariya is what kind of particle? No, what kind of particle is an? What does it do? What does it do to the word after it? It makes it mansub, correct. Now this an comes in how many forms? Don't play with that. An comes in how many forms? Two. Which two forms? Yes, it comes in masdariya and mukhaffafa. The an masdariya comes in how many forms? Mudmara or zahira. Mudmara means what?
Hidden.
It's hidden, you can't see it in the text. And an al-zahira means what? You can't see it. It is apparent and it can be seen. Now, which ones are mudmara? Now here is mudmara, it has to be mudmara, no overlap, it's no choice. This little overlap in our Venn diagram, this means it can be both zahira or mudmara, it's up to you. You can bring it in that scenario in either case. The ones on the right means it has to be mudmara. And the example he gives is li'alla ya'lam. I'm not explaining the rules right now, I'm just telling you. So when he says li'alla ya'lam, this example that he gives is where it has to be mudmara. Sorry, I think I got it all wrong. I got this wrong. This side is supposed to be zahira. This side is zahira, and this side is al-mudmara. Okay, so I've corrected it now. We have here an al-zahira and al-mudmara. So where does an have to be zahira? And he says like the word li'alla ya'lama. Okay, we'll explain that. So it's really li'alla ya'lama is really li'alla ya'lama. We'll explain that shortly. That's one place it has to be zahira. Then there are two places where it have a choice. What are they? There are two places where we have what? A choice to bring it zahira or mudmara. Obviously we can't change the Quran, but if it's our own speech, we've got a choice of bringing it zahira or what? Mudmara. So for example, he gives an example after lam. If you have a lam harfun jar, after the an is mudmara or zahira. You can say litubayyina linnas, and if it wasn't for the Quran, we could have said li'an tubayyina linnas. Another example is بعد عاطف مسبوق باسم خالص. If the ma'tuf alay is a ismun khalis and followed by a fi'l mudari, you have a choice. In a poem, what does the poet say? وَتَقَرَّأَيْنِ. If it wasn't a poem, what could we have said? وَأَن تَقَرَّأَيْنِ. If it was own words, we could have said that in our own words. And then on the other side, مَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيَعْذِبَهُمْ بَعْدَ حَتَّى بَعْدَ أَوْ and بَعْفَعْ the sababiyya. In these 1, 2, 3, 4 examples he gives, you must have the unhidden. But his text is all jumbled up a bit. Okay? You understand? To summarize again. So what we've done so far, we said here, an dhahira is what? After lam, you have what? You can bring it both ways. After ba'da atifin masbuqin bismin khalisin, you can bring it both ways. If you have li'alla ya'lama, you have to bring it dhahira. If it's got a lam before the an. And then in these places, it has to be mudmara. You got this? So you can take a screenshot of this and keep it with you, because then the text gets it's not clear in the order, it gets a bit jumbled up. Okay? So if you go back to the previous one, text, he says here, the previous text were what? Here. So, an al-masdariya dhahiratan, so an its own. Then he says that's a masla of the an masbuqatan bi ilmin, etc. Then the next one he has, if it's mudmaratan jawazan. If it's hidden, and if it's zahira, you have the mukhaffaf, etc. Then masbuqin bi ilmin is permissible. Not masbuqin bi ilmin, masbuqin bismin khalisin. It can be what now? It can come both ways, with an and without an. Okay? Now he's going on to mention what? It can also be mudmara ba'da lam. What does that mean, ba'da lam? If you have lam, then you have tubayyina lin. Let's say, for example, you have your own. Let's pick our own sentence. Our own sentence is dhahabtu ilal masjidi. I went to the mosque li usalliya. So now here we have a lam is a harfun jar. Yes? And after this we have a choice. What can we do? We can bring an, or if you want we can remove it. We can say dhahabtu ila al-masjidi li usalliya or li an usalliya. We have two choices there. Understood? Acha. However, except, meaning in the top one, what do we have? Jawazan. So that means illa means the next one is what?
Jawazan.
But illa.
Oh, not jawazan.
It's now what? Wujuban, you have to. So except in these two examples, fatadhhar, it will be what? It will be apparent, la ghayr. Nothing, ghayr means other than, nothing else.
Oh, so it has to be zahir.
It has to be zahira. فَتَظْهَرُ لَا غَيْرٍ. It will be apparent, nothing else. So except in these two examples, so this lam, so this lam is also lam harfun jar. It's ba'da lam. Here is also ba'da harfun jar lam. Yes? But in these cases, even though it comes after lam, you can't make it mudmara. You have to make it what? تَظْهَرُ لَا غَيْرٍ. What do you have to make it? Apparent, la ghayr, nothing else.
It's just because it's Quran or is...
No, this is a general rule. What's the rule? The rule is, if you have lam harfun jar, what do you have? Lam harfun jar. Yes? Followed by, there's a fa'al mudari as well. Like for example, liyaf'al. Yes? In this case, you got choice. But if you got a negative particle la before the fa'al mudari, if you don't add an, what will happen? How would you read it? No. Lam harfun jar plus la. No, without an. Lila yaf'al. You can see how it's hard to pronounce? So when you have lam harfun jar, and then after that there is a harfu nafyin. What do we have? Harfu nafyin. What must we bring here now? An. So after lam harfun jar, the an is muqaddara. What is the an? The an is muqaddara. It is mudmara. It is hidden. However, except when you have a la before the fa'al mudari. In that case, what must you do? You must add an, so you don't get lila. It's hard to pronounce. Yes? You understand?
Yeah.
Muhammad, you following? Abdul Rahman? Umar? So what is he saying here? فَتَظْهَرُ لَا غَيْرٍ. It will be apparent, nothing else. It will be what? Apparent, nothing else. فَتَظْهَرُ لَا غَيْرٍ. Why has he brought two examples? Why has he brought two examples? To show us there's two types of la. One is la nafiya, one is la za'ida. What he's saying here that la is for negative, but sometimes you get scenarios, you get places where the la doesn't show a negative meaning. La is just there for emphasis. Okay, like for example, you do that in the Quran. So this example, it doesn't mean لِأَلَّا يَكُونَ لِلنَّاسِ. This la doesn't mean negative meaning. So from the context, you'll be able to determine whether Allah is for negative or not. Yes, you following?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes? You following? Okay. So far so good. Any questions online? So you brought two examples to tell you whether the lam gives the meaning or translation or whether it doesn't give the translation. In both scenarios, what happens? You make it, you have to bring the word an before it. So the Allah. The next thing we're discussing here is, next example, he gives an example. He doesn't tell us what it is. What does he do? He gives an example. What's the example he gives us? He gives an example and he says here, وَنَحْوُ وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُعَذِّبَهُمْ فَتُضْمَرُ لَا غَيْرٍ. Now he's going on to scenarios where you must make the an hidden. You can't bring the an in text. What's the example? He gives the example, مَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُعَذِّبَهُمْ. This is basically called, this lam here is called lamul juhud. What's it called? Lamul juhud. What does that mean? You have a kana manfi. What do you have? Kana manfi. What does that mean? You have kana or yakunu, made negative. So for example, you have ma kana, and in some places you have lam yakun. So you have ma kana or you have lam yakun. So either form. So you have kana manfiya, either past tense or present tense. Then you have the normal ism of kana. After that you have this lam called lamul juhud. What do you have? This lamul juhud. Yes? What does this do? It just creates more emphasis to the ma kana. And the more technical meaning you do in balagha, inshallah. So ma kana Allahu li. So what happens now? Ma kana Allahu li. What does this do? This creates more emphasis on the khabar. And then after that you have an mudmara. And then after that you have the fa'il mudari, which becomes the khabar, and it's mansoob form because of the an mudmara. Yes? So if you have lamul juhud, what is lamul juhud? When you have kana in its negative form, followed by the ism, then after you have, on the khabar of the kana, you have a lam, called lamul juhud, followed by an, which is going to be mudmara, but it will still do amal on the verb after it. Ma kana Allahu liyu'adhibahum. Lam yakunillahu liyahdiyahum. So you have mansoob after it.
What's the difference between this lam and lam muzahlaqa?
The lam muzahlaqa comes on jumla ismiya. And this comes on jumla fa'liya. This is majroor, this has a kasra majroor, maksur. And this that has a fatha. That comes on the khabar of ism. And this comes on, this is specific with ma kana. The lam muzahlaqa is ghair amil, lamul juhud is amil. Okay? So the lamul juhud does amal, lamul muzahlaqa does not do amal. Okay? Fatudmar la ghair. In this an can never be apparent. This an is always hidden. Yes? Are you following? Have you understood, Abdul Rahman? Ji, Umar, Muhammad. Yes, everybody following? So what do we have here? Ma kana Allahu liyu'adhibahum fatudmar la ghair. So ma kana Allah liyu'adhibahum, we give an example. He doesn't say what it is, but what is this example of? Ma kana Allahu liyu'adhibahum. Example of what? Lamul juhud. And the lamul juhud has an mudmara after it. Fatudmar la ghair. It is made mudmar, nothing else.